The sponsor of my stream and podcast is DistroKid. If you want 10% off on your first subscription with DistroKid, release your music to the world on every major music platform. Make sure to go to my website, andrewvanzark.com, and click on the discount link under the tab of DistroKid. The information on this podcast is my opinion and some internet research.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Welcome to Star Wars Chatter, hosted by Andrew Vanzark. Now you're listening with power. Alright, hello, welcome to the Star Wars Chatter. I'm Andrew Vanzark, and this is your safe space with good Star Wars and music. And let's talk about that, Chapter 22, Guns for Hire. I'm really excited for this one so much, so let's get it. In this episode, there's a lot of things to talk about. There's even a special cameo from an actor that we all love a lot. None other than Jack Black. I wasn't expecting Jack Black on this episode whatsoever, So, let's get diving into it. Let's get it running. Let's get it flowing. So, this episode, Guns for Hire, takes a wrong turn. So, the sixth installment of The Mandalorian Season 3 is a distractingly guest star-studded affair that brings us closer to the resolution, but does so in anticlimactic and confusing fashion. So, let's get things running. So, keep in mind, spoiler warnings if you haven't seen the episode, but let's get it flowing. Midway through Chapter 22 of The Mandalorian, Din Djarin, Bo-Katan, Kryze are chasing a super battle droid through a doomed city on supposedly paradisical planet Placer 15. So, when they keep going, Din shouts and he peels off to the right as so Bo continues. Din tears down the side street he turns onto. And wait, what? The fleeing droid is still directly ahead of him, passing by the opening at the end of the alley. Naturally, Din turns right again, which should mean he's heading in the opposite direction from one that he was running in initially. So the second right turn takes him through a restaurant where a wall forces him to cut left. If you're keeping track, which the maker of The Mandalorian hopes you aren't, Din should still be running at 45-degree angle away from his initial trajectory. So which Bo and the droid are still on. How could dashing in a different direction be a shortcut? You might ask yourself. Yet Din burst through the eatery's window just in time to tackle the quarry he's somehow outcapped. Both Bo and the droid have, from all appearances, been sprinting straight forward. Yet Din, running no faster than before, pulled ahead by taking 2 right turns and a left. Sure. Right. So the pursuit ends as expected. Din catches the rogue droid. When you watch it, even semi-closely, though, the sequence makes no sense whatsoever. If we want to be generous, we could say that instead of defying physics, the chase is just sloppy edited, I guess. I don't know. Maybe. So, although it appears to be depicting continuous action, the cuts actually obscure some hidden twist and turns that enables Din to get the drop on the droid. Whether the problem lies in the conception or execution, the sequence seems like Season 3 of The Mandalorians in microcosm. So this batch of episodes is headed for a predictable endpoint, even perhaps a satisfying and fitting one, but the path it's taken to get there is increasingly confounding. This whole episode has a lot of plot twists over and over and over and over. There's no way to put this, but it's just a full-on plot twist, So Guns for Hire. So the 6th installment of the season, and the first since season 1 to deviate from the series Seinfeld and format-esque episode. Title is in some ways the most frustrating episode yet. That's saying something, given that until this week, Chapter 19, The Convert, was the show's lowest user-rated episode, with the season premiere not held in much higher regards, There's a lot of people around that haven't had a great time with the season. They think this whole season is just full of fillers, side stories, and other stuff that don't really correlate to what the Mandoverse was originally about. And it happens with every show, there's a point in time where things are just stretched out like flavorless gum, So it's an almost distractingly guest star studded affair that brings us closer to a resolution of the series, the Mandalorian plotline, but it does so in an inert, anticlimactic, and confusing fashion. Unlike The Convert, which cuts away from Din, Grogu, and Bo in favor of extended dialogues with Dr. Pershing's Guns for Hire, which is written by Jon Favreau and directed by Mandalorian veteran Bryce Dallas Howard, doesn't sideline our heroes. Instead, it seems them on a dull, underdeveloped detour that culminates in a ostensibly big moment that falls flat. In the aftermath of last week's pirate rout on Navarro, which was a great episode in my opinion, the armorer changed a newly naked phase, Bo, with uniting the Mandalorians. In that episode, we get to see that Bo-Katan is now the new leader. Now Bo-Katan will unite both clans into one, and we're expecting that to be done soon. I think this episode might have shown us that is a possibility. So given that the only other Mandalorians we've seen on this series aside from Boba Fett are Bo's former sidekicks Koska Reeves and Axe Wolves, it wasn't though to guess that we'd see them soon. Sure, they showed up in the episode melodramatic and cold open. In the season's Good Fest scene, this side of Pirate King's Gorian Shard, we meet a Quarren captain with the Lovecraftian or Ghostbuster-iest kind of style. Name of Shugoth, who've eloped with the Mon Calamari princeling despite the differences between their species. During the Clone Wars, long-standing Mon Calamari, Quarren tensions, and Mon Cala briefly boiled over into civil war. So the star-crossed, well-lubricated lovers are fleeing from the forces that oppose their union, but they run into the Mandalorian's mercenaries, who've been hired by the boy's mother, a Mom Calamari's viceroy. So to bring him back, so much for this touching tale of aquatic capulets and montages, or that be montons, I guess. I don't know. So the primary purpose of this whimsical scene is to remind us that Axe Wolf, a character who appeared in one previous episode, still exists. Wolves, you may or may not remember, debuted in the series' last Howard-directed chapter, Season 2's The Harrys. So the chapter, which also introduces Bo and Koska and reunites Frog Lady with her frog family, and took place on Trask and the watery world that the Quarren Navigator references in the first line of Guns for Hire. So unlike Koska, Wolves was mysteriously absent for the climax of the second season, better said. After the finale, actor Simons Cassiandes said, "There will be answers," which must have reassured the many fans who were watching that episode and thinking, loved Luke Skywalker, but where was Axe Wolf, Kate Sackhoff later reassured that Axe truthers that there's a reason Wolves just wasn't there. But Guns for Hire doesn't shed a lot of light on Wolves' no-show. So Koska and the other mercenaries were told deserters. Bo, because she couldn't reclaim the Darksaber, so why would Wolves leave before the battle with Gideon, So whatever his reason, he wasn't a big Bo fan. Wa gather because of her design of ruling Mandalores. Many people don't think that Bo-Katan has the way, has the right mindset to be the leader. And even in this episode, you see that Wolves acts when Din Djarin says, she deserves to have the Darksaber herself, and he who holds the Darksaber rules Mandalore, and she is declared leader by the other clan of Mandalore, as the Children of the Watch, and the thing is that I do think that Bo-Katan deserves to be a leader. I do think that Bo-Katan is a great leader, and we shouldn't see it any other way, It's how we have seen her developed her character at this point. So Mandalorian Pushi is back in possibly the second most exciting return to TV in 2023 by a character called Axe. So the opening scene, which visually echoes the Star Destroyer's entrance at the start of episode 4, also establishes that the Mandalorian's mercenaries' lifestyle may be less enriching spiritually than it is monetarily. They still abide by a kind of code. They refuse to be bought off by the captain out of loyalty to their client. But they're now putting their prowess and principles towards not to solidify goals of thwarting a Mon Calamari romance, which seems a bit beneath them. So remember, Mando was once hired to hunt down the sons of Mon Calamari, nobly, but he ditched the job when he caught feelings for Grogu, which gave him a more meaningful mission. Quoting here, "I thought Mandalorians were honorable," the Viceroy's son spouts. We are kids, says Koska. All it takes is a few credits when the Mandalorians were determined to take down Gideon and take back their home planet. They liked Din after he adopted Grogu, so had a higher calling than credits. So by the end of the episode, they will again, but before Bo and Co. Can collectively set their sights on Mandalore, business takes them to Placer 15, an independent planet that hired the Mercs for protection. So Gideon's former fleet, captured by Bo and now under Axe's command, is parked outside the capital of the Outer Rims, only remaining direct democracy. But Bo, Din, and Grogu can simply land nearby and accomplish their quest. This is the Mandalorian, so some fairly flimsy obstacle must be placed in their path. An automated guidance system reroutes their ship to a designated land spot. Evidently, dock isn't democratic, where they're told that the Coruscant Accords, those pesky regulators that prevented Pershing from continuing his cloning research, also restricts access to self-defense forces in the peacekeeping zone. Bo and Din need permission from planetary leadership to talk to Axe. And once they scan their chain codes, planetary leadership really wants to talk to them. Their presence is requested, but the summons is mandatory, which doesn't seem to democratically either. So on the surface, Placer 15 looks like the world if meme, came to life. A bizarro Mandalore that blends Sundari-esque domes with a climate and landscape that seems much more hospitable than those of Bo's home. So much of so that dome seems unnecessary. It's too Pinterest in my opinion, So as often seems to be the case in sci-fi's pleasure planets, though there is trouble in paradise, as indicated by the Imperial Protocol droid. And Astromech, aka Evil 3PO and R2. So Dakrites are a protagonist on the ground between the sinister droids and the pushy air traffic control. The Uggernauts are the ones that are in charge of, building all these droids and refurbishing the droids. And the White Walls, plus here smacks of Cloud City. And though Darth Vader isn't dining, behind the broad doors that Din, Grogu, and Bo pass through. When they reach their destination, there is an ex-Imperial at the head of the table. So that official, Captain Bombardier, is played by Black, none other than Jack Black, who enters the Star Wars universe on the same day he debuts as Bowser. So the Mandalorian is no stranger to guest star, but Black is one of the biggest, especially if Bombardier doesn't prove to be recurring character. However, he outshined from a Star Wars and Star Power perspective on this episode, because Bombardier's wife, the Duchess of Plaisir, is played by Lizzo in her first acting role since Hustlers. Throw in Christopher Lloyd as the city's head of security, Commissioner Hellgate, and we have the highest wattage call sheet in Mandalorian history. So Lloyd's involvement had been previously reported, but Black's and Lizzo's cameos were kept quiet. So Bombardier's, we learned, is a former Imperial facility planning officer who helped rebuild Plaisir as part of the New Republic emissary program first seen in the Convert. So while undoing the damage inflicted under Imperial rule, he and the Duchess fell in love and got hitched. This episode's second unlikely love story, but they aren't living quite as happily ever after as they'd like, because some members of the city's workforce, ex-separatist droids, reprogrammed and repurposed by bombardiers, have been malfunctioning and causing mayhem. The local constables can't keep them in line, so the planet's characters doesn't allow the other Mandalorians to enter the city, and the citizens, who like the passengers on the Starliner in Wall-E, are no longer self-sufficient whatsoever, so have voted against deactivating all of the droids to fix the problem. So it's up to Bo and Din to do some slothing. So, does any of this, strictly speak, make sense? And for me, it doesn't make any sense. None of this, strictly speaking. None of this, none whatsoever. You know, not much more than that chase sequence. You know, and our characters forbids us from having military because of any husband's imperial past. Blah blah blah. And the Duchess said that. You know, so hence the hiring of the Mandalorians mercenaries. Yet the mercenaries can't help with the droid problem because the charter also forbids any standing army from entering our city. A paid mercenary force doesn't seem the same as standing army, and if it were, it wouldn't qualify as military and thus be banned. So, but this technically creates the fairly flimsy obstacle that diverts Din and Bo. So there are more problems with this setup for free routes to wave away. And it's crazy, you know, it's really crazy. So why would the dynamic Mandalorian duo want to take on this task in spite of the more passing matters on their mind? A question you might be asking yourself, you know. So two diplomatic concessions served as indulgences. In return for their help, Plaisir will formally recognize Mandalore as a sovereign system, and it will petition the New Republic to recognize it as such. Well, that's a really nice and all, you know, very nice. I'm not gonna deny that. I'll keep that as a very good. I like that. But, and hear me out, but does it matter if one header for unmentioned Outer Rim planet with no non-Mandalorian military recognizes Mandalore? Kind of fishy, if you ask me, and kind of stupid. You know, is there any reason to think a petition from Plaisir concerning Mandalore would carry much weight, given that the planet isn't even part of the Republic? We saw how much pull non-member worlds have last week when the Republic wouldn't help with Navarro's pirate problem, you know? Think about it. So, that's crazy. And we're gonna let some random Plaisir 15 Outer Rim no one have heard of planet that has been introduced just about now? Come on. Neither of these gestures seem to mean much, but don't sweat the details. Lizzo, Jack Black, Christopher Lloyd, what am I? Quoting here, I want to get the information fast and get to the fleets. Bo says, one of a few lines that exposes the stalling makes work function of the Plaisir plot. So the thing that gets me about Guns for Hire at this point is how much meat there might have been on the bones of this premise. On another, more meditative sci-fi series sense, for instance, any number of shows whose name starts with Star Trek, a society such as Plaisir 15 could have sparked some thought-provoking ruminations on human happiness and our droids' rights, And this could be something that could be talked about. Society has a lot of things where they're man-made or humans, organics, or droids, robots. There's so many things we can think about. So it's leading a life of unloyal leisure fulfilling. These royals and elected leaders, you might keep the Hyperloop running on time, but is there decadent feasting? Quoting here, I hope you like secretions, Bombardier says, as a sign that they're exploiting the populace, And at this point, they say that if they turn off all the droids, the society, the civilization's gonna collapse, the economy, everything. We can't do anything without the droids. Are we too codependent to technology? Oh no! Come on! How's that even a thing? How can you be so codependent about the technology to the point that you can't do jack shit? Hey, what is this, Wally? Come on. Jesus. Whew. So, you might be asking yourself, are these Sibyllis and Sibyls so dependent on their droids, and their peril to control them? That's the craziest thing ever, Do robots deserve better than an existence of servitude followed by deactivation? Where does the balance and the rights lie? Are we gonna go for the organics? Are we gonna go for the droids? Or are we gonna do a happy medium? It's all crazy, It's all fucking crazy, So is Plaisir truly a direct democracy if the droids that do all the work don't get a vote? Huh? Are we living all this again? The minorities not being able to vote? Come on, that is fucked up, So The Mandalorian isn't the sort of series that explores such in ideas in depth, and that's a really sad thing because I like those ideas a lot. So it's the sort of series that uses the premise mostly as an excuse for a callback to the cantina and in episode 4. So, which is fine in my opinion, but as long as the plot track, the action delivers, and the characters shine, I'll be fine, But unfortunately, this episode is spotty on all 3 counts. Definitely. I couldn't even keep my eyes on the fucking TV. I was being distracted so much, cause I was like, damn man, this episode makes no sense. I'm not even keeping track. I can't even concentrate. I was like, huh? I was like, what? I was like, what did you just say? I was like trying to watch the TV and I'm like, I'm confused. None of this makes any sense, It was really spotty, So the investigation is fun for a while in a Detective Obi-Wan or Clone Wars way. And to the show's credit, the body cop act between Bo and Din does dredge up Din's past. Although the diplomatic motivations seem contrived, the side quest is personal for him. Super battle droids killed his parents. You had me at battle droids, Din said. So by that point, he was like, I'm gonna get you the help you need. So following IG-11's starring sacrifice in the season 1's finale, Din's opinion of Joy seems to improve. But he's back to being a hater, which to be fair is somewhat understandable after his runs in with the Dark Troopers and the reanimated murderers IG. Guns for Hire also harkens back to Din's time with Kuil, as he draws on his knowledge of Argonauts, accustomed to wheel info on the bad droids out of the workers. who somehow know which droids are due to malfunction, but don't do anything about it, possibly because nobody who asked them to help remembered to seal the request with an "I have spoken," and it's really sad that they don't like to acknowledge these people. They're the most hardworking ones, the Argonauts. So after the Argonauts tip off the detectives to danger at the loading docks, Din straight up picks fight with the droids until he finds one that will take a swing at him, which sets off the chase. The scene in last week's Jello Jackets and every cop show ever made, it's pretty straightforward in my opinion, and pretty obvious. Where one detective asks another if they're letting their feelings interfere with the investigation, kind of thing. That's what's happening here. Though in Din's defense, it works. After blasting the droid, who finds a spark pad. That points to the resistor. A droid bar where humankind isn't served. So between Chapter 19's reference to Admiral Akbar's "It's a Trap," last week's allusion to hand shooting first, and his week's shout out to water, Favor is really laying the original trilogy reference on thick. Playing to the crowd even as Dave Filoni keeps catering to the Glup Shinto Konosanti. There they learned that they're misbehaving machines all imbibed the same batch of nepenthe, an Asian Greek term describing a drug of forgetfulness. In Star Wars, the word refers to a restorative substance that delivers software updates via nanodroids. Further digging reveals that these particular nanodroids are old Techno-Union relics, and they were secretly requestioned by the head of security. So, moving on here a little further, Helgalt, the old separatist, and Count Dooku die hard. It's the unsurprising culprit. From afar, it would seem as if Helgite has gotten what he always wanted. Democracy, independence, peace. So the question is, why has he turned into a terrorist/saboteur? Presumably, he believes Bombardier, like Elia Kane and Pershing, isn't fully reformed by the New Republic's rehabilitation, and that either willingly or because he can't help himself. The ex-Imperial is still trying to deprive Plazier's people of the agency, and in the process, duping Liso's Queen of Hearts looking Duchess, So, it could be a bleak commentary on the gullibility of the good guys, the potential for humans to possibly reprogram themselves, and the potential to achieve order without some sacrifice of autonomy. So then again, we don't see enough to know whether Bombardier is really up to anything nefarious. Maybe Helgite, who will be exiled to a moon, as the children of the Watch once were. Is there bitter that no one else wants to work? And at the end of the episode, we do see that Bo-Katan and Din Djarin and Axe-Wolf do exchange words. The Bo and Axe do fight a little bit on the episode in that point, and we get to see a nice transition that Bo-Katan completely, officially is the leader, and they're gonna unite both clans of the Mandalorians. I hope that's a thing. I hope they don't just become acquaintances, but they don't join together and do things together. I hope so they do. I'm really excited for that, and I can't wait for that to be a thing and that for that to happen, So that's my thoughts, the recap of the episode. I hope you've all been having a great time. You've been listening to the show, and I hope that the Force is with you at all times. So catch you on the flip side. Adios, amigos. Bye. Roll that outro.
The Force is with you, young Skywalker. But you are not a Jedi yet.
This was Star Wars Chatter, your safe space who's got Star Wars, music, video games, and other geeky topics. Listen on AMP, the Amazon Radio app, and get yourself started by listening to my music on every major music platform under Andrew Van Zark. But if you want to have more information, go to my website, www.andrewvanzark.com, where you can find all my social medias, music, and everything else all in one page. Trust in the Force, no light speeding, and buckle up. Now you're listening with power. Power to the music, and may the Force be with you.
TV!